Good morning, students. Today we are going to solve the numericals of chapter Income from House Property. In this numerical, you can see terms like MRV, FRV, and standard rent. So you need to understand what MRV, FRV, and standard rent is. MRV is municipal rental value, FRV is fair rental value. MRV is the rental value that is fixed by municipal corporation on the basis of survey of house property in the local limits. Fair rental value is the rental value a house property can fetch. It is based on rent prevailing for similar type of accommodation in same locality. Standard rent is the rent fixed under Rent Control Act. So MRV is fixed by municipal committee and standard rent is fixed by Rent Control Act, and fair rental value is the rental value a house property can fetch. So now when we look at the illustration given, there are three cases: case A, case B, case C, and all of the cases have different values for MRV, FRV, and standard rent. So how do we solve this numerical? When we look at MRV and FRV, there are two values. MRV is 30,000 and FRV is 36,000. We will have to choose one value from this. So from both of them, whichever amount is higher, we will select that amount. So if MRV is higher, we will select MRV, and if FRV is higher, we will select FRV. So in this case, MRV is 30,000 and FRV is 36,000. So we will select FRV, which is 36,000. So 36,000 is the expected rental value. Then we will have to compare the expected rental value with standard rent. So when we look at this question, there is no value given for standard rent. So the final answer will be 36,000 because there is no value for standard rent that we can compare the expected rental value to. In case B, MRV and FRV are same just like in case A. So similarly, MRV and FRV, whichever value is higher is taken ahead. So 36,000 is the expected rental value. In this case, a standard rent is given. So expected rental value is 36,000, but according to the Rent Control Act, the standard rent is 33,000, which means we cannot go above 33,000. So the final answer will be 33,000. So expected rental value is 33,000. In case C, MRV and FRV are same, which means we will take 36,000 as expected rental value, and there is standard rent given of amount 42,000. So when we look at the case C, the expected rental value is 36,000, and when we compare it with standard rent, which is 42,000, so standard rent is of greater value than expected rental value. So when we see that the limit given by Rent Control Act is far more and our expected rental value is less, so we will select the amount that we have, which is our expected rental value. So out of 36,000, 42,000, we will choose 36,000. So the conclusion is that when you compare MRV and FRV, you will choose the value of higher amount, the higher value, and that higher value will be called expected rental value, and then you will compare the expected rental value with standard rent, and out of them you will choose the amount which is less. So this is the next question. Similarly, like question before, it has MRV, FRV, and standard rent, but there is a new term here which is actual rent. So it is the rent which you actually receive. So for getting the new term which is actual rent here, we will do it like just we have done before. So out of MRV and FRV we choose higher value. So MRV is 60,000 and FRV is 66,000. So out of 60,000 and 66,000 we will choose 66,000, which is our expected rental value, and then we compare the expected rental value, which is 66,000, with standard rent. So standard rent is 69,000 and we have our expected rental value, which is 66,000. Out of them both we will choose the amount which is less. So expected rental value stays our final answer. And now when we compare it with our new term, which is actual rent. So our expected rental value is 66,000 and our actual rent which we received is 72,000. So out of them both, which one should we choose? We should choose which we have in our hands and which is actual rent. So expected rental value is 66,000 and actual rent we received is 72,000. So our gross annual value will be the rent we received, which is 72,000, and it happened because the expected rental value was less when we compare it to actual rent. In case B, so everything is same, MRV and FRV is same, so we compare both of them and we know the value which is higher, we will choose that. So we choose 66,000, and when we compare it with standard rent, which is 69,000, we select the amount which is less, which is 66,000. So now we compare it with actual rent. Our expected rental value is 66,000, but the rent we received is 63,000, which is less. So now we will choose the amount which is higher here, because the expected rental value is 66,000 but we received 63,000. So our gross annual value, we will select the amount which is higher. So in case A, when actual rent is 72,000 and ERV is 66,000, so we chose the amount which we received, which is higher, so 72,000 is answer. And case B, where actual rent is less than ERV, so ERV is higher, which is 66,000, so 66,000 is the final answer, which is gross annual value. So this is the end of the lecture, students. I hope this lecture gave you more clarity on how to solve these numericals.